In this video, I'm going to share with you my near-death, or more accurately, short-death experience. And it's taken me a long time to get to this place because it doesn't match what I see out there. I've watched a ton of videos where people are either floating above their experience or had their hand held by God and walked through a blissful, perfect scene while being shown the future of their soul's work or purpose. And the more I looked into it, the more confused I got. And the more I dismissed my experience and brushed it under the carpet as just some weird glitch. And then one day, a series of events changed my whole perspective on all of it. And now I see it in a way that's really clear and undeniable. So let me start right at the point where my life took a turn down a completely different path. It was a routine dental visit. Simple freezing. And I've had lots of them before. It wasn't the first time, yet this time, with no warning, nothing. There was no tunnel, no light. There were no relatives waiting, no dog, no hand reaching down to walk me through a garden and show me my future. Just black. Complete total absence, gone. And here's the odd part. Few people actually want to hear, because it's the most reassuring thing that has ever happened to me. This has nothing to do with what was there, and everything to do with what wasn't. Here's the thing, there was no one standing at the end holding the answers, giving me guidance, answering questions. And somehow that's exactly when I understood why. If you've ever sat in silence or prayer, asking your guides, God, anything, to just tell you how it turns out, what am I supposed to do? And then just get nothing back, just silence. I need you to stay with me, because that silence isn't you being ignored. And this is the important part. It's the refusing to spoil the one thing you came here for. At the time, all I left with was a headache that lasted almost 2 weeks. But something did change that day. And here's the thing, I just didn't have language for it yet. What I can tell you is that I came into this life with something running in me that felt completely out of time, almost medieval. The interesting part is, I knew as a teenager that I'd never see 40. It was a deep knowing that I had, and I'd often share it with my friends. And it was never something that created fear in me. I just knew. Almost like it was part of a plan I already agreed to. In hindsight, now I realize it was a soul memory from somewhere else. And after that chair, that voice went completely quiet. Now, if you're the kind of person who doesn't just believe this stuff, great, it's good. Stay skeptical, because you're already thinking the thing I'd be thinking. You said you felt nothing. No tunnel, no light, no experience at all. So how do you even know anything happened? Maybe you just fainted. Maybe you fell asleep in the chair and made it mean something. And you know what? Yeah, that's fair. That's exactly right, actually. I have no inner experience to offer you. No floating above my body, no life review, no warm presence. I literally have nothing from the inside. So I'm not going to ask you to trust what I felt. I'll tell you what I saw in the faces of the people who were in the room when I came back. Now, the first thing I saw was the hygienist, and she was literally inches from my face, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her face was so pale, sweat running down her forehead, her eyes looking at me with a weird mix of fear and disbelief. And as odd as that is, you can't fake that look on someone's face when they've just watched a person literally stop being there. Then the dentist. And this guy was closer to the end of his career than the beginning, which really just meant he'd seen everything that happens in that chair. And now he was totally rattled and seriously angry. And to be honest, at the time, that really confused me, because from my perspective, I was gone and instantly back. No time had passed. And now I have this dentist yelling at me, visibly terrified. Something had happened that scared this dentist. And here's the part that really put it into perspective for me. He had cleared the office. He had sent every other patient home. The waiting room was completely empty. Every other chair was empty. Do you know what it takes for a working dentist to send a full schedule of patients away? That doesn't happen for a fainting spell. That happens when something has gone seriously wrong. So no, I can't tell you what I experienced, but I can tell you what it did to a room full of people who had no reason to lie and every reason to stay calm. They couldn't. That's the only evidence I have, and I'll let you decide. So it took a long time for it to make sense. For years, I just wrote it off as a weird glitch. It wasn't until I started doing the master alignment sessions for other clients. Now, To explain that, master alignment is simple. It's a practice where I reveal the greatest past life wounding that is still repeating as a pattern today for my clients, often the very thing that keeps them stuck. Now, in a session, I go into what I call, it's like a 3D holodeck. It's extremely experiential. It's like I'm actually there in that person's causal moment. And I can see what that person was wearing in that lifetime, what they were holding. I can smell things, whether it be fresh baked apple pie. I can feel the sun on my skin, the person's thoughts, emotions, all the physical sensations run through my body. I relive the trauma and describe it in full detail. And so I'm doing a session like that for a client. And in the midst of all this, the client was being beaten, whipped, punished. And I could sense the physical body was about to die in that lifetime. And I kept being guided to stay with it. I was the one experiencing that body at the end of that life. I could feel everything in my body as if that was me, as if I was there. And there was a lot of pain, punishment at the hands of others. Normally, this is where the session would end. But this time I remained in the experience as the body passed. And I felt it die. Real physical pain, the body failing, the suffering, the weight of a whole life in it. And I stayed in that experience all the way down. And then the body just let go. And in that instant, it did. Everything instantly flipped. As soul, there was no damage. All the pain, all the trauma dissolved the minute the soul left the body. It was just a simple, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that was fine. That was all part of it. The pain that I had felt like the whole world a second ago was just suddenly a thing that happened, an experience, now closed and complete. It was the calm of a soul that had finished the chapter and was already setting the book down. There was no tragedy in that. There was almost a kind of amusement, like of course, that's how it was. None of it had been damaged, not to the soul. And that's when the chair made sense. See, both times the same thing happened. The body let go, and the acute pain of that lifetime, that closes with it. But the soul doesn't leave empty. The unresolved loops, the open patterns, those travel into the Akashic field, ready to continue in the next body, the next life, until they're finally completed. That's a soul that came to finish something and hasn't finished it yet. It's the same mechanism. The suffering closes with the body. The soul carries its unfinished work forwards. So I felt what it is for a soul to leave a body. And I instantly recognized it, because it happened before, in that chair. The soul that left, the medieval one, the one who knew he'd be killed before 40, finished its agreement. What came back up in that chair was me, this soul. Now here's the interesting part. I was given the same name as my brother who died before me at 1 week old. Same name, same parents, same middle name. And I felt his presence my whole childhood. Every psychic I ever went to would pick up that I had a shared name with my brother. And I think he was watching and waiting. Then when I went flat in the chair at 33, we switched places. I am now the original Ferdinand that couldn't navigate the early years of human growth. But here's the thing, something started in that chair. And those who knew me before know something is different. Not just changed, but different. Right? That's the part nobody's standing at the end to tell you. Because the leaving is never the loss. Whatever you're carrying, that isn't in the soul. It's never in the soul. It's in the body, in the wiring, in the pattern, still running. And here's the thing, a pattern can be finished. The soul underneath it is never touched. As soul, you are never damaged. You never are. Underneath all of it, you're already whole, and you always have been. But you came here carrying something, a pattern, a loop. The same situation that keeps showing up in different clothes, the same kind of relationship that keeps ending the same way, the same wall you keep hitting in your work, the same fear that keeps running the show. You didn't bring that here because there's something wrong with your soul. You brought it here because it didn't get to finish the trauma, the event, the story. You came here to complete it. And here's the secret in that. The thing I really need you and want you to hear. The moment you actually close one of those loops, really close it all the way through, it's done. Completely done. It clears. It doesn't follow you anymore. That is the very mechanism of how this reality works. You came here to close open patterns, and a closed pattern is gone. That's why spirit won't tell you the future. That's why the guidance goes quiet exactly when you're most desperate for the answer. Because being handed the ending would completely rob you of the only thing you came here for. You'd close the book at the very moment the story was about to teach you the thing you came here to learn. The science is never punishment, it was always protection. So here's what I'd leave you with. Stop asking for the ending. I know how hard that is. I've sat in that silence and begged it for answers. But the silence is not the absence of help. It is the help. It's the held breath of something that loves you too much to spoil what you came here to discover. You don't need to be told how it turns out. You need to go close the loop that's in front of you. That's the complete discovery. That's the whole point of being here. The very thing you've been treating as a locked door is never locked. It's a held breath. Yours. The day you stop demanding the ending is the day the story finally gets interesting. So if something in this really hit home, if you felt that, there's a series on this channel where I walk through how I actually live this, one piece at a time. The lived versions start wherever you're drawn. The thread will find you. Thank you.